Hey everyone, Professor Snart just checking in here as it's Monday morning and we are looking at getting into Unit 8, which is another two-part unit that is technically Essay 2, but as you'll see is actually just a revision of Essay 1. And you'll also notice that, again, we have a fair amount of time to be working on this. So unlike other writing assignments that we've done or other situations where the writing is a lot more compressed, you have a lot more time, and this presents, that sort of double-edged sword kind of a thing. It invites procrastination, which is obviously the problem, but ideally it gives you time to really revise essay number 1 and not just kind of edit for things that I might have pointed out and do a really surface level integration of a secondary source. So those are the two components we're looking at. So really try to, again, use the time wisely. Be in touch with me with questions. We can set up like a virtual meeting so I can look at your essay. But the first step is really to make sure you get, obviously, the grade for Essay 1, but also get that file back that I've sent to you. You can access it through the My Grades. If you just do a couple clicks, the file will be there. And so I've provided comments within the text and sometimes at the end and, various things throughout. Sometimes it's just highlighted pieces, sometimes it's questions or comments, sometimes it's actual corrections. But obviously that component of what we're doing here is really the most important at this point as far as improving from Essay 1 to Essay 2. And so it's really frustrating for me, and I'll notice it right away, if I see the same mistakes in Essay 2 that I've already corrected in Essay 1. That just shows me again that you're not really engaged with what's going on. So really pay attention to those corrections. And notice too that if it's something recurring like a citation problem that would happen throughout a paper, I may have only corrected it like the first couple of times, and then obviously you would want to go through and make sure you make the correction throughout the paper. Of course what that depends on is understanding what the correct form of the citation would be, or what the correction to the error, whatever kind it was, would actually be. So again, the time that we have to work on this is really time for you to spend time with your essay, and then get in touch with me if you have questions about, what's the correct way to do this, or what was I trying to say to you about what was wrong or needs improvement. So this is really a time not just for me to have sent you the essay and you have to work on your own now. It's really a time for kind of engaging back and forth to make sure that Essay 2 or the revision to Essay 1 can be as effective as possible. So just clicking myself into our due dates here, you notice that Unit 8a, the first part, is really the research phase. So the major part of the revision here, in addition to maybe correcting errors, is integrating a secondary source. So we're going to spend some time just finding that source and making sure it's appropriate. So Unit 8a is, again, very straightforward. I'm just going to find it here. Because obviously what you're doing in addition to, the basic just finding the source and then posting to the discussion board is thinking about how you're going to integrate that with the essay that you've already got. And like I said before, really engaging with the essay document that you've got back to figure out how you can make it better, how you can improve on it. So the unit itself is fairly straightforward. It should position you really well for the next unit, which is actually the rewrite of the paper and resubmitting it or submitting Essay 2. And so because trying to explain the grading for Essay 2, which I can comment more on as we get a little bit closer to it, but Essay 2 is graded a little bit differently in as much as really what we're looking for is a correction to any errors that were made in Essay 1, but really trying to highlight finding an appropriate source, integrating it effectively throughout, and then producing a correct works cited page. So that component of it, which was already kind of heightened as far as our being in the research course goes, that takes on really almost 80% or 90% of the grade is just getting that component right for Essay 2, because you've really already written the text for Essay 1 and gotten feedback on it. So it's possible, in other words, for your grade to go down, even if you were to make changes based on the feedback you've got, because you're now introducing this new element that's really the element that I'm looking for. The secondary source, is it used throughout, integrated effectively, obviously connected and sort of explained relative to the topic that you're talking about? And then can you produce that effective or correct works cited page? It's not really effective. It either is correct or isn't. That's the glass half full or half empty, depending on how you look at it. It's either right or it's wrong. And we have, like I've said before, lots of models and examples to follow. So hopefully getting it right is just a matter of finding the model and following it correctly. You don't have to, there's not a lot of guesswork in it, really. Okay, so take a look then at the due dates just to see how things shape up for the second essay. Take a look through maybe both units 8A and B, just again to see how what components are involved in each of them and how the sort of pacing of this revision is set up. Obviously go in, and if you haven't already, get your essay number 1 back, the document that I've sent back to you. Spend considerable time with it, right? Make sure that you understand where I've made corrections. And of course, don't just read for where I happen to have highlighted things. You really have to go through on your own at this point and decide, can you make things more effective? So a sentence by sentence rereading, or think of revision not just as editing, like fixing mistakes, but as a real revision or re-seeing of essay 1. Could it be configured differently? If you didn't score very well in the first essay, then obviously revision is going to be a significant re-seeing. If you did score well, then revision is really going to be more focused on maybe more of the editing kinds of things, and then preserving that good grade will depend fundamentally or more so on finding the appropriate source and integrating it effectively, more of the research component, which again is what we're more focused on for this revision that involves integrating the secondary source. Okay, and as always, be in touch with me if any questions about the assignment and especially about feedback that you got on that document. If there's anything you want to clarify, or you know, even if you're almost 100% sure that you know what the correction is, but just want to make sure that you got it right, by all means do so. It takes 30 seconds of typing, sometimes a couple emails back and forth, and then you can really proceed with confidence, which is what you want to do. Okay, so I will check in a few days then, and good luck with essay 2 in the revision.